Hi and welcome to the latest Steve's Amateur Garage video. Great to have you along. Well, this is the second half of a video. Hope you've watched the first half where we removed the head gasket of my MGTF, my daily driver. So we're going to get on with replacing the gasket, putting the head back on and putting all the pieces back on, but I'm also going to do the timing belt and the water pump as we've got good access to them at the moment. Let's go. So the first step today is to see if we can repair the inner timing belt cover. As you can see, a little bit has disintegrated there. I've got the pieces and it should look like that. A bit of a shame. You could probably leave the bolt out. There's enough bolts to hold it in place. I don't think it's going to fall off, but we'll see if we can clean it up and glue it back together. So it's a good start. Nicely glued in. We'll let that dry for a few hours. So here's our head. That's the inlet side. It's upside down on the bench. That's the exhaust side, and we'll clean that surface up and do some checks. So here's the head all cleaned up. I'm going to do a simple check. Just put a straight edge straight across the top there, and it looks good. If I use the thinnest feeler gauge I've got, which is 0.05 of a millimeter, and try and squeeze it underneath, it just won't have it. I'll do the same on the back there. So I think that is good. So here's our bottom half of the engine with the head gasket removed. We're going to spend an hour cleaning that up in the same way we clean the head up, and then we can start the reassembly process. So there's the new head gasket. Comes with a shim to go over the top of it, and it's from BGA Automotive, and there's the reference. Comes with instructions, which is great, but it should only fit one way. Gasket on, shim on. I'm just going to drop the head on nice and gently. I'm using new cylinder head bolts, again from BGA Automotive. And just to reiterate, the head bolts are tightened down with an E12 socket, star shaped like that, and they basically are tightened down to 20 Newton meters, all of them in sequence being start from the middle, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and work your way out. Once they're tightened down to 20 Newton meters, you turn all of them 180 degrees, and then all of them in sequence again, another 180 degrees. And what I like to do is put a little bit of Tipex on them, basically all pointing in the same direction, and that way it's a good reference point of when you've found 180 degrees and when you've turned them a second 180 degrees, because the Tipex should basically be pointing in the same direction as it started. Little top tip there. Now we are going in a reverse sequence. So heads on, bolts tightened up. We put the electrical connectors back on for the coolants. There's 2 of them, both underneath these pipes here. We put the coolant pipes back on and the exhaust manifold back on. I'm just about to tighten the bolts up to 45 Newton meters, starting with the middle one and working our way outwards. That's the heat shield and the alternator bracket back on, and the exhaust heat shield back on, all going smoothly. Alternator back on, and the next step would be to fit the inner timing belt covers, but before I do that, I'm going to change out the water pump, because that bolt there comes in through the back of the cover. So that's going to be the next step. We'll get that out of the way and have a look at the new one. So there's the new water pump, and there's the code for it. I don't think there's anything wrong with the old water pump, but while we're in there and we're doing the timing belt, we might as well change it out. And there's the new water pump with its gasket all ready to go back on. Water pump back on, small bolts, 8mm head, tightened up to 10 Newton meters. Cam covers back on, and now we can tighten down the 15 bolts that hold it into place to 9 Newton meters. And there's a specific sequence again, starting from the middle, next one, and then working our way across and around. Okay, you're going to have to take my word for it that the inlet manifold bolts are all on and back in place. They are a real struggle. You've got to get your hand right underneath each one of these, right as far as you can reach. And effectively, I've got my sort of 6-inch bar on it with the wobbly socket taped up so it's not so wobbly, and the 10mm socket on the end, and you are effectively right underneath there, feeling around. Can't really see anything, but I've got them, they're tightened up, so we can move on to the next step. Right, so now we really are on the reverse process. Next step was to connect the fuel line to the fuel filter. Just give it a good pull on till it clicks. Job done. Plug in the map sensor, which is that one. Plug back into the top there. Reconnect the 2 breather hoses and the coolant hose to the cylinder head, just there, all good. And now I have to try and reconnect the fuel return pipe, which is underneath the inlet manifolds, and I'm not sure you can see the bracket there, sort of right in the middle of the picture, and it just goes up to that thread that's on the underside of the manifold. You can get at it from the wheel arch, but the far one, passenger side one, is a real fiddle. Hey guys, here's a tip for you that will save you hours of struggling. To get the bolt on the passenger side of the fuel return pipe that's basically underneath the inlets, you have to go in from the passenger side with the air box out the way. Get your hand right down there, right under there, and then with the small little bolt fiddle it around on the bracket till you get the right angle, and finally it caught and it's screwed in. But boy oh boy, is that just awkward. Once the fuel rail is bolted up underneath the inlet manifolds, we can reconnect the end of the pipe and make sure the clip's on. Now it feels like progress is being made. We've reconnected the electrical connector underneath the throttle body and reconnected the throttle cable, which is a bit of a trick. You just have to get that little nodule in the hole there and feed it underneath. Back in its little bracket there, and it also goes in a bracket at the back there. Then we can refit the evap canister onto its little bracket, just slides on, and refit the pipe to the inlet manifold there with its little clip. All good. And reconnect the brake servo to the manifold, just pushes straight in. And the final step in this section is to refit the oil filler tube. Now we're on to fitting the timing belt. We're going to fit a new tensioner as well, comes with the kit, and there's the code. So the first step is to make sure that the camshafts are in the correct position, and as you can see on the pulleys there are 2 white Tipex dots that are effectively pointing at each other, and the camshaft locking tool, that blue piece there, is in position to hold them firmly in place. And also make sure that the crank shaft is correctly located with these 2 little dots pointing right at this line here. So that's your starting point. And now I'm going to fit that tensioner. And there's the timing belt tensioner on the nut in the middle. I like to put a little bit of thread lock on it and just nip it up and then back it off half a turn, because we're going to need to adjust that once we've got the timing belt on, using that Allen hexagonal hole there with an Allen key, 6mm. As you turn that, it applies tension to the belt. You can see the small spring just to the right there, which is behind the nut. That needs to be in the correct position, but it's all there, all good. And now we can try and locate the timing belt. The timing belt tensioner also comes with a new bolt with a little bit of thread lock on the end, and there's the code. There's the code for the timing belt. Okay guys, after a couple of evenings struggling to get the timing belt on, and believe me, it is an absolute struggle, I think I've managed to do it. I'll pass on a few little tips that will hopefully save you a load of time. First of all, you've got to get the belt up around the top and then around the bottom crank, and you've got to get it fairly tight. Now, this belt's on, but it's not been tensioned, and you've got to get it, well, it's not even on, you've got to get this bit as tight as that. Otherwise, it just flaps around really, really loose. So that's the first trick. The second trick is a little top tip, and you will need some little pieces of cardboard folded up to jam in to both the bottom here, up at the top. Otherwise, if you're doing it on your own, the belt will just keep popping off and it won't remain tight. So that's the first thing. You've got to get that bit relatively tight, bit of tension in it first. Feed it round the top and then round the pulley, and then eventually you get to this point here, and in true amateur fashion, you basically have to force it on. It's unlikely you will do it with your fingers. How the professionals do it, there must be a proper technique to it, but I haven't got it. So it's basically just brute strength and get that over the teeth there. It's now on, and it's fairly even around the cogs, quite nice. So I'm now going to use the tensioner, tighten that up, get it set correctly, and then we'll turn it around a couple of times and make sure the lining marks stay up. But good luck with that one. It's a real, yeah. So with the tensioner, we put a 6mm Allen key in this slot here, and you have to make sure that the wire's over the bolt at the back there to tension it, and this is sort of pointing to 9 o'clock. Put your 6mm Allen key in there, turn it clockwise until the marker moves around and lines up with the end of the metal wire. It's got to line up right in the middle of the marker, and then you tighten that up. And what you tend to find is as you tighten that up, the marker moves a little bit as well. So you have to put a sort of slightly pressure on here to hold it in place while you tighten that up. And that goes down to 25 Newton meters. Bit of a trick, but it's not impossible. Okay, and there you can just see the marker and the tab cut out in the middle of it, and the wire just pointing right to the middle there. That's good. So the next step, we've put the bottom plastic cover on, we've reinstalled the bottom pulley, and we've turned the engine over a couple of times, and you can see the mark right at 12 o'clock on the top of the pulley, right in line with the plastic mark, or the mark on the plastic. And if you can see up there, there's your two lines perfectly aligned. My left hand, the inlet cam, jumped back once when I tried to tighten the belt up, and it looked wrong. They were not even in line with each other, so I had to take it off and do it again. Second time I tightened it up with my tool still in place, and that's kept them level, and everything's tight and everything's lining up. We'll just turn it over one more time just to be short, and then we're good to carry on. We are cooking on gas now. It really is the final steps on the reverse process. So we've got the top timing belt cover on. We have the right hand engine mount back into place, just 4 bolts on, 2 onto the subframe there and 2 at the back there. Went in quite easily. And we have the engine lifted up slightly and aligned with the engine mount and the bolts in. We are flying. Next, we've put the alternator belt on, and don't forget to tighten up both the adjustable nuts. And the rear suspension arm, which is always a bit of a fiddle getting that big bolt through there, is back on and all connected up. Looking good. Yes, spark plugs back in, cover back on. We are on the last lap. Inner body shield back on, and a little bit of remedial work on the subframe while we're down there. New air filter and filter box back on, all attached up, and now we're ready to put the coolant reservoir back into place. Coolant reservoir back into place. We've reconnected the 2 coolant pipes underneath, and I'm just going to put the wheel back on, drop it down on the floor, and then we're ready to start refilling the cooling system. I'll put the next video up at the end of the screen on how to do the cooling system. It's not just a case of throwing the water in and getting on with it. There's a few steps to follow. Okay guys, we've finally reached that moment that you've all been waiting for. Well done for making it to the end of the video. The coolant is in, and I'm just about to start the engine up for the first time. Now, it probably won't fire first time, it's got to pull a bit of fuel through, but we'll give it a couple of goes and see what happens. Let's go. But don't forget to reconnect the battery first. Okay, take 2. And just a quick note to say the horrendous tappity noise, your tapping noise you can hear when I start the engine up, that was the tappets. They'd been standing still for 5 or 6 weeks. They took a good 10 minutes before the oil got round, and that noise has completely disappeared now. But you will think you've done something wrong. The noise is that loud. But in the end, we were all good. So, in answer to the question, can the amateur mechanic replace the head gasket on an MGTF? The answer is yes, he can. Is it a struggle? Yes. Will you need some specialist tools? Yes. Is the timing belt a real difficult one to get on? Absolutely it is. So don't think you'll do it in an evening. It's just not going to happen. But nice and steady and you'll get there. Every faith. If you've enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell, because as you can see, the camper van's back in the garage. I've been using it as my daily driver for the last few weeks, and a few things have fallen off that, so we'll be fixing that soon. And we'll be doing some more on the E-Types, the Ferrari, and the MG. You all take care. I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now.